my name is Chrissy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up where I read 7 books. The first book on that list is The Matchmakers List by Sonia Lawley. This book follows Raina, a successful businesswoman who makes a deal with her nanny that if she doesn't get married by the age of 30, she'll let her nanny set her up. And much like most of us who make deals with our elders, she kind of wants to take it back. Between wondering why marriage is a must in the first place and residual feelings for this dude named Dev, Raina finds herself on a bunch of dates with dudes who it's just not working out. I don't think of this book as a typical romance, though it does fit into the romance genre. It does have a happy ending. But Raina doesn't really spend as much time with her love interest as I'm typically used to in romance novels, which kind of leaves me a little bit conflicted because I like that a lot of the focus is on Raina's relationships outside of intimacy. Her relationship with her best friend, her relationship with her nanny, and her relationship with her mom. The majority of the story focuses around those conflicts and those connections. And I do like that, but with romance, I kind of wish there's a few more scenes with her and her love interest. I think this book does a really good job of balancing the funny with the serious, and overall, I liked it a lot. The next book is ThePlea by Steve Kavanaugh, and I buddy read this with Ariane from Book Zealots. This is the second in the Eddie Flynn series. Eddie is an ex-con turned lawyer, and he finds himself always in these pickles. The first book he was in a pickle, this book he's in a pickle, just pickles everywhere. In ThePlea, he ends up being pretty much blackmailed by the CIA, who says, hey, if you don't represent this one guy named David Child, then we're going to arrest your wife on charges of, I believe it's money laundering. And thus he gets thrown into this predicament where lives are on the line. I think the Eddie Flynn books could be made into movies, and fairly successful action movies at that. In Bruce Willis's younger days, he could have totally played Eddie Flynn. If I were to hear this book described by someone else on Book Talk before I had read it, I would not think I would like this book. But I do. Oddly. It's really fun. It's kind of like brain candy. It's fast-paced. You do have to suspend your disbelief, because there were times I was like, physics says that's not possible. And while certainly the action parts are the parts I had to suspend my disbelief the most, I do want to look up some of the law stuff that's in these books to see if it's really true or if it's as plausible as these books make it appear. I'm going to be reading on in this series and we're going to see how it goes. I'm excited for 13, which is the book I was originally interested in with this series before finding out that's like the 4th book. The next book I read is Tangerine by Christine Mangan. I'm pretty sure this book takes place in the 50-ish time frame, but anyway, it follows this gal named Alice, and Alice is in Morocco with her husband, and she doesn't like Morocco at all. She likes it even less when an old school friend shows up named Lucy to Morocco, uninvited. Really, if the song Obsessed by Mariah Carey had been around during that time, Alice would have been singing, why you so obsessed with me? Girl, I need to know. Because that's pretty much the relationship between her and Alice is. Lucy needs some hobbies. She's made Alice her hobby, but this book is a type of psychological thriller, but I would say it's more psychological than thriller-y. And the complicated relationship between Alice and Lucy was interesting to read, but I kind of wish that the pacing had been sped up. It almost feels like their background should have been portrayed first before Lucy comes in. I can understand why it's not, because it's trying to build up to the suspense, but I don't know. The next book I read is Forgivable Sins by Adelaide Forrest. This is the second in a mafia romance series, and it's the first dark romance series I'm getting into. And I think maybe I am not the right person for dark romances, because a lot of things that I had trouble with in the series so far are things that people like about dark romance. And no shame to those who like dark romance. You be you. I'm glad for you, because there's now a widening market. But I do not like some of the main male characters. I said this is the second book. The first book, which is Bloodied Hands, I think, I did not like the main character in that. The dude, not the gal, the dude. In this book, Forgivable Sins, we have Lino, who is a lot more reasonable than Matteo, who is the main character of the first book. Lino is this mafia guy who tries to do more legitimate business dealings. Samara, who is our other main lead in this book, is his good friend and also a gal who just wants to get a divorce from this awful man. Lino helps her out with that abusive relationship, and it's pretty much a book of them getting closer together and having love feelings towards one another. To be honest, they had love feelings this whole time. Given that this is a dark romance, it is explicit. I'm pretty sure that's one of the aspects to dark romance. Not a bad thing, once again, but if you are not into explicit romances, then dark romance is just not going to be your thing. And you may be wondering, Christina, if you knew that you didn't like the first book, why did you read this one? The reason is because my curiosity is a heck of a thing. I had to know what was going to happen. I had to know what the plots were in the next couple books. Like, I think I may just read the next one in the series. I will say, for the controlling aspects that Lino has, I think that it is a lot healthier of a relationship than the first book I read in the series. Lino does try to be communicative with Samara and give his reasons why he wants to do things in certain ways, and certainly tries to make, compromises with Samara, but realizes a dark romance, and the controlling aspects are kind of part of the dark romance series. So if you like mafia romances, I heavily suggest this one. If you don't, I understand. The next book I read is Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Fraser, and this follows a gal who is 18 and pregnant, and she works in a pizza parlor. One day she gets a phone call that says, "Hey, I need pickles on a pizza." And this call is coming from a lady named Jenny. Jenny is just a stressed out mom who's like, "My kid likes pickles on his pizza. Don't know why, but he does, so we gotta find one." Our main character says, "You know what? Okay, what I'll do is I'll go get pickles and put it on this pizza for this kid." So she does that. Our 18-year-old pregnant gal ends up becoming obsessed with Jenny. And if you're wondering, Christina, why aren't you just saying this gal's name? It's because we're not really given a name until far later on, and I kind of want you guys to read the book to figure all that stuff out. Anyway, the main character becomes obsessed with Jenny. Once again, Jenny could probably be singing the song, "Why You So Obsessed With Me?" I thought this book was going to be much more of a comedy than it is, and I wouldn't even really put it as a comedy. A lot of the humor in this is a little bit dark humor. It's not exactly nice and, lighthearted. In fact, we hit on several, really melancholy themes. Loneliness, being stuck in a place that you don't like, and wondering how you're going to move on and upwards, trying to figure out your own ambitions, and also grieving someone who didn't treat you well. It was a much more insightful read than I thought I was going to be getting, and I enjoyed it immensely. I do wish that we could have explored the main character's relationship with her mom and her boyfriend a little bit more, but I kind of understand why the author did not go that direction, because really the main character's loneliness is just as much part of the story as anything else. Just to give a fair warning to anyone who wants to read this book, the main character does make some pretty unhealthy decisions concerning her pregnancy. Be aware of that. Next book is Vox by Christina Dulcher. So this book is based on the concept of what if women could only speak 100 words a day. And I feel like I would blow past that, not just because I'm a talkative sort, but also because most of my day is filled with, hey, don't touch that, don't do that, hey, no, wait, don't put that in your mouth, stop licking that, because I have a 2-year-old, you see. And those are the words you say a lot. At any rate, in this world where women only get 100 words a day, there is a gal named Dr. Jean McKellen who is slowly starting to realize that this is just plain awful and it has to change. And granted, she knew it was awful to begin with, but she kind of didn't think it would last, but it sticks around. And so this character, Dr. McKellen, is just doing her best to find a way to end this regime of women only saying 100 words per day. I like this book's premise, and I do think it has an important message of things that we think might be outrageous and ridiculous and never going to happen does have the possibility of happening. And in fact, probably if you listen to the news, you're going to see things that you never thought would happen. With that being said, I did find that there were certain plot holes in this book, which aren't really explained. The world building seems to not be as thought out as I would like it to be, and I really liked the relationship shift and deterioration between our main character and her son. The last book that I read for this month is Forbidden by Beverly Jenkins. This is the first book in a Western romance series that she has going on. Don't worry if you're thinking, a Western, Christina. This is not a Hollywood typical Western. Like, it doesn't have John Wayne being like, this town ain't big enough for the two of us. None of that. Instead, it showcases actual cowboys during that time and settlements and trying to figure out how you're going to live in these cities and growing industries. At any rate, in Forbidden, we follow a gal named Eddie who just can't seem to help getting robbed. She's a black woman who just wants to start a restaurant in California, but she keeps getting robbed. Well, the second time she gets robbed, she ends up in this city called Virginia City in Nevada. There's a gentleman in that city named Ryan Fontaine who helps her out after her second robbery. Ryan is passing as a white man. He finds himself severely attracted to Eddie, but then he has to figure out if he's going to continue passing as white because Eddie is not really interested in getting involved with a white man because that can cause her some severe problems, as you can imagine. This is a time period where it's just after the Civil War has ended. Eddie does not need that drama in her life at all. So Ryan has to figure out whether or not he's going to still continue to pass as a white man or if he's going to claim his ancestry as a black man. I'm loving her westerns. I did not expect to like a western because, once again, I was kind of thinking of it as Hollywood type, but this is not that at all. It's people just trying to find their I don't even want to say their fortunes, but just a life worth living for themselves, and I think that is a great aspect to explore. Also, I love that Beverly Jenkins continually has main characters who have ambitions and goals and a life outside of the romance that's present in the book. And that concludes my March wrap-up. I would love to know your opinions on any of the books I have mentioned, and if you have ever seen any of my to-be-read videos and you want to buddy read with me, please hit me up. I love talking with people about books and storylines and giving my opinions on things and hearing other people's opinions, so I would love to have more buddy reading buddies. As always and forever, may get lost,